Alright, I'm out here laying out for these upper, so you can see I took the square and I've measured out the distance between these holes, and I've moved it over here to this plate, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the plate, and I'm going to stack them on top of each other and tack them to each other. We're going to take it over to the Bridgeport, drill out the holes where they need to be, and we're going to go ahead and put a center hole in. That way we can space we can use a piece of all thread or a bolt and space this plate off the other one at 3 inches, so the bag can't collapse. So you can see when the bag goes all the way down, they say 2.8. We're going to set it at 3, and we're going to do the same thing like we did on the bottom. There's going to be a spacer, so you see how that bag folds over. So there's going to be 1.5 inch spacer. We don't want this to ever touch the plate, so you know it's going to be allowed to roll around and not touch. You know, this is rounded, and the piece that's going to be up here, there's not going to be an edge of a plate at all. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this and get it drilled, and then we'll go in there and start doing the other layout. Alright, we're here at the bandsaw. We're going to get this cut into these 2 pieces here, and then we'll get them tacked together and get them shaped up to be the same, and then put them in the Bridgeport and start punching holes. There's going to be a big hole with a hole saw made and these plates, and then stepped off that 1.5 inch, and so there is a weldment that's going to happen in here. Alright, they're tack welded together, and everything's been made square, so it's caught my vise good. And I've center punched the holes. So I've done my layout. I'm not going to use a DRO, it'll be close enough. And so we're going to drill them. This one's going to be for this large hole saw here. It's going to be where the 1/2 inch insert goes in. So it's going to be made big. And then the center one's going to be our layout hole, and these 2 outside ones will be our bolt hole for the top of the bag. And then we're going to put a giant 4 inch hole in the top of it. Alright, I'm going to start drilling. Alright, I got the air hole and the 2 mounting holes drilled in the plate. Now I'm going to put that hole saw in and take the whole centerpiece out so I can raise it up. Alright, I got both of these plates drilled out with a hole saw now. So we're ready to take and work them and weld them into that weld. Alright, so you can see I drilled this out 3/8 of an inch, and that's going to be my setup bolt hole. And then I went in and chamfered all these. Now I'm going to take it off and take that hole saw burr off and bevel it, and take this other hole saw burr off, and I'll end up with a plate like this where my fitting can go in. So my fitting can go in there, and it's bolted on with the 3/8 inch bolts. And we're going to use that to come up off the plates with that pipe that I got. So I'm going to go ahead and work this other piece over here. Alright, I got these 2 pieces of 1.5 inch tube that I've cut off that tube there. So I got 5 inch, I got 4 inch for the front bags, and I got 6.5 for the outer on the front. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use that or not. We'll see. If I have to drop the bag through the A-arm to make it pretty like I want, we'll get to that later. We're just working on the rear one. So that 5 inch is the same size as the top of the bag. So I'm going to take these and pretty them up now, and then we're going to weld those plates we just made to them. Alright, I got a belt sander here, and then I'll take a finger sander to the inside, and we're going to get them all prettied up now. Alright, so the outside bevel's done. I'll stick them up here in the vise. We'll take a finger sander and clean up the inside while I got it apart. But this is the stuff when you buy these parts. If you buy just the plates, they don't come ready to weld like this. You need to finish them. and then the plates won't have this pipe here, so the bag, as I showed you earlier, will roll around. You put it just on, you just mount it straight to a flat plate. If there's any sharp edge or just touching that flat plate, we'll end up wearing a hole in it. I'm going to go ahead and get it cleaned up in the inside. Alright, so you can see how this is a cheap eBay finger sander. I mean, I think it cost me 40 bucks. And you can see I just come in here and I'm just running it and cleaning it up. So it's real easy to do this stuff now and before, you know, you get it all welded together. Plus, the more of this crap you get out, the less that it gets into your weld, and the better welder you look like. You know, you can have the best position and control and everything, but you start pulling this crap into your weld, it'll look like crap. So, all right, so we got all the parts cleaned up here, and I got these blocks. What this is going to do is make, you know, everything closer to the same height. So now what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll weld this plate, and it'll give me a fillet weld so I can grind this all smooth around this edge so there's not a sharp edge here. And this pipe is the same diameter of the bag plate. So we're going to go ahead and tack this up, both pieces, and weld this, and then we'll weld it to the other plate. Alright, so I got them all welded here. What we'll do is we'll come in and we'll grind them smooth, and then we'll weld the other plate. So we're going to go ahead and get this all, you know, so that bag doesn't roll on it. Alright, I've got these all rounded off and beveled. You can see how the bag comes over. But so that center hole, before I weld the plate on, to kind of explain, that center hole, see how they're lined up? What that's going to allow me to do is to space this exactly 3 inches off for that bag never to hit its lowest point on the stops. So you can see with that hole lined up there, that they're straight on top of each other, which is what we want in the lowest position. Lowest position matters because we don't want it coming down cocked like this or like that and pinching that bag. The bag's going to roll a little bit, but when it comes up, it's going to, you know, we're going to exaggerate it here a little bit, but it's going to come at an angle, so it's going to rotate up. The up part doesn't matter if it's cocked. And when it comes down on the bottom in the low position, it does matter. So that's how we're going to set this up in the low position. At the minimum, we're actually going to be 2/100ths over, almost a 1/4 inch, 3/16 from its lowest point, which is 2.8 on this bag. We're going to set it at 3 inches, so it'll never ever hit that to where it's at its lowest point. And the lowest point that it can go, these will be straight on top of each other. They won't be cocked. So that'll prolong our bag life. So now we're going to go work on the other plates, and we're going to get these welded to the upper mount plates. Alright, you remember the plates that we drilled this hole, you know, this plate out of? We're going to use that to mount onto the frame. So I've already worked on, I've ground the welds. I'm about to split the plates, and I've cleaned up the surface. When I split the plates, I'll clean up the other surface that was in between here, but I've ground the welds off, and then we're going to come in here, we're going to weld that onto here. So when the bag rolls over, there's 1.5 inches that it can't touch these edges of this plate. A lot of airbag mounts that you see made, they'll make this plate in the hole, but when that bag comes down, it kind of grabs this edge and it cuts with the bag rolling onto that edge. There's not enough room because it, you know, it bellows up there when it's all the way down. And they don't put a bottom stop in or nothing. They just come down and they let that bag get crushed and rolled onto these edges, and then the bag takes the shit, and they blame the bag, not the what I consider an improper install of the bag. So what we're going to do is, you know, now when the bag comes to its lowest position, it's got that much room to roll. Alright, hope that makes sense. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to split these apart, grind them. I'm going to weld this to the upper mount plate, and then we're going to space them off inside the frame. Alright, so you can see that it gives me a fillet weld in the inside now. And I'm just going to eyeball how it's clocked in there, because it really doesn't matter that much. So we're going to, I put a square across there to give me a square off the plate. I'm just going to eyeball how it's clocked. I'm going to tack it, and I'm going to get these welded inside and out. We're going to weld this side and then weld the other side, and then grind the weld spatter that happens, that gets generated on this side. We don't want, you know, we're trying to protect the bag. That's the whole point of this. So I'm going to get these two welded together so you can see how it's beveled. You can see how the plate's all clean. So I'm going to tack them together now, and we're going to get them all welded up. Alright, so you can see how I got it welded there. And then I'll take it and I'll grind it all smooth inside and out here. So I need to go get this one ground to look like this one. I'll go do that now. You can see how it's all welded. Alright, I'm going to cut a couple sections, like 4.5 inches of this all thread. And this is 3 inches tall. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces off, and we're going to space those up off the bottom ones, and then be able to weld the cross brace in. Alright, so you can see how I use the all thread through both pieces and these 3-inch tubes to make sure that these, you know, there's 3 inches of gap at the lowest position. So I put the tube in there, and then I tighten it down, and I have 200 thousandths. Basically, these are pretty much straight up and down from each other, and it's got the 3-inch gap that we need. So I'm going to space that one up with the all thread and the 3-inch tubes that I got. Notice that I cleaned the edges. So they should be pretty well perfect 3 inches off from each other when we throw these cross braces in. Alright, I got the cross braces in now. So you can see where the airline is going to go. And I got plenty of clearance. Airline will go up in here in the front. And I got them spaced with those tubes. Can't see it very well, can you? So there's a tubes, and then the all thread holds it, and these cross braces are what it's going to push off of. So this will allow me to weld it in at 3 inches, where my close limit of the bag is 2.8. So I'll be able to weld it all up like this, like in a jig, and then pull those pieces of tube out and slide the bag in, which I'll be able to jack it up with the jack and run it up, put the bolts in it, and then they say 80 psi, which, you know, this thing's going to weigh over 80 psi. We'll collapse that bag, But when it collapses, that top piece is going to be directly above the bottom piece. So it's going to be right here, exactly like it is now. So that you can see these are level with each other. So when it gets welded in, it won't come in here crooked. When it comes up, when it goes up, it'll be crooked. We don't care about that. It'll work just fine. We just, when it comes down here and collapses, we want it to not be pinched. And if it does roll over, it doesn't, you know, go up against the plate. All right. So we'll get her welded in now. All right, so I've marked this so that I can cut them. That way this can be easy to be painted. So we're going to take this tube over. We're going to cut this piece out because I need a certain amount of room in case I want an adjustment with the rear end for this Watts link. So it's not going to adjust more than 1 inch. So, and I'll be able to come in here and put a weld along that plate. So we're going to come in here and cut this out and modify this tube. Alright, use the hole saw and I've cut those pockets out. We'll go back and fit it again. Alright, so I've got those 2 cuts in there made now. I'm gonna take this piece back out and I'm gonna cap it with a piece of metal, grind it all down, and it'll be ready to, you know, when I go to paint this, you know, there won't be a spot that can't be shot. So nobody ever see it, the bed's on or anything, but we're gonna modify this tube so that we can have plenty of room in there. And so I'm gonna cap it now. Alright, so I got this flat stock, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna roll this edge. So I've measured this, it's like 6 inches. We need 1 inch on either side. So we're gonna do 2 pieces at once. There's this radius. We're gonna mark it out 14 inches off here and we're gonna cut it. Okay, so in the roller, I've rolled this piece to match the radius over there. Alright, so you see how I'll be able to fit it in. So I'm gonna cut pieces and get them fit in here and welded. Now, we'll cap those notches that we cut out. Alright, I got those pieces cut and fit so they're ready to fillet weld in there, and then when I grind it down there'll still be weld left. So we're going to go ahead and get this all welded now and grind it down. Alright, so you can see how I got it all tacked up here for fillet welds. So when I grind this down there'll still be a weld left. So we're going to go ahead and grind it, or I mean weld it and then grind it and then put it back in place. Alright, so it's all welded. We'll be able to grind it down smooth now, and then we'll get it fitted in there. Alright, I got it all polished up and everything, and I used a framing square to square these up in the frame. You can see how it runs right there with the rear end. See the cover. So I got it, and then I had those blocks in there, and right now I just got it tacked. And I'm going to put the bags in and let it down and see what it looks like. It should be perfect, but I just want to cycle it once, just down all the way before I weld all the stuff in, because I really don't want to cut it out. So I'm going to just test it at the lowest position. Bags should look good. If they do, I'm going to put the blocks back in and we're going to weld it solid. Alright, I got it lowered down in the lowest position here. And you can see that they're not going to crush all the way, and that it rounds around to this. There's no plate or anything it lays up against. I got at least 1 inch room on each side, and they both are straight up and down off each other too, so they don't look crooked or anything. So see how in the lowest position it's straight up and down from each other. So I think I'm in a good spot. The layout must have worked out pretty good. So that bag's not going to be able to, you can see down there, like that bag doesn't touch anything. See how it wraps around? If you had a flat plate there, the edge of that plate would end up cutting that bag at some point. So see how it rolls past the bag point. So now with those space like that, it ain't gonna hit anything. All right, so I'm gonna, and the bolts went in real easy. So we're looking pretty good here. So I'm gonna take and jack it back up, put the blocks back in, come in here and get this thing welded all the way around, because it's looking pretty good. All right, I got everything welded. I added this piece in to grab that bar that goes up, and then I got this 1-inch tube. I've cut that open for that side of the Watts link. I'm gonna add this 1-inch tube in here. It should never ever get to there, but I'm gonna modify this cross brace here to give it a little bit of an opening. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and weld that in. All right, I got that all welded. And I've cut these pieces, and I'm fitting them in around the bag pocket, stiffing it up. So I'm gonna go over there and fit those over there, and then I'm gonna get them all welded. Okay, I got it all welded up here. And I got a big old gap for this thing to come through. I got a new support. It's all welded down under the bottom too. So when I connected that there, I'll go down and show you how it's welded down there on the bottom. But when it cools down, I'll be able to put the airbags in. It's all done. I'll be able to then play around and cycle it up and down for fun. Alright, I'll go down under the bottom now. Alright, so I got it all welded down here. So it's got some goobly gop on it, or whatever you want to call it, but it ain't gonna break. So alright, so yep, alright, it's all bag mounts are done. We'll be able to, and there's plenty of room for that Watts link to go up and down. So alright, tomorrow I'll come out. It's like 4 in the morning right now. Tomorrow I'll come out, I'll put the bags in and cycle it up and down. Alright, so we're gonna put the airbags in today. I've come in there and I've got this thing jacked up right now. I've come in here and I've cleaned up all the weld spatter that was on those mounts. So I'm gonna slide the bags in that I got jacked up, and we're gonna bolt them up. Alright, so I got the fittings in here. I got this just temporarily plumbed. I'm gonna hardline this when I actually get the whole truck ready to roll down the road. I'm not gonna take any chances on these lines. It's gonna be hardlined all the way up. So what I got going on here is it goes out here to this T, and I got a slow down valve so I can adjust up and down, and I got a manual dump valve so I can dump the truck, and I got a Schrader valve, so we're just going to manually run it up and down off the air compressor right now. And I'll show you it going up and down here. So you let it out. It drops down all the way. And if you notice, we come in here, and if the bags cannot come across any plate, And they never actually hit their lowest position, because their lowest position was 2.8. And I got it set up to where it can't go, you know, any lower than 3. So those plates never touching the inside. They also, you see how they roll around that mount that I got? So no matter how it comes down here, it doesn't come down to where it can cut it. Alright, I'm going to cycle it up and down and show you. Alright, so we're all the way down here. And we're going to run it up and down with the air. So put some air in here. You see how the Watts link works? So it goes straight up and down. Right there when the bars get level, that'll be my ride height. So this is going to be my ride. So now I can, with the manual dump valve, let it down. You'll see it come straight down. There's plenty, and it hits the hard stops, so it'll never ever crush those bags. And there's nothing for them to crush on. There's an inch space all the way around them. And you notice if I push on the frame, there's no side-to-side movement. So those bags will never rub this way. Alright, we'll move on to the next thing. We got it aired up. We can run it up and down for fun. And the bags are in now. You pull up to a parking lot, this is what's going to happen. You're going to let it down. It's going to hit those hard stops. It's going to be 2 inches off the ground. Okay. Alright, so I got that upper mount all done, and I'm able to, you know, raise and lower the truck. Seems to be working pretty good. So I'm gonna call the video. There's still a couple things. I'm still not done on this. So I got brand new Monroe shocks. The next video I'll come in here. I'm gonna stand these shocks up in here, like so, and make shock mounts for them. They got 7.5 inches of travel, so they're gonna go in here. And I'm gonna make a cable comes around, and just so that axle can be held, and it'll stop it from breaking those shocks off. So we'll do that at the next video. We'll finish this axle up, and then we can go to the front. So far so good though. Well, if you like this kind of stuff, check back in.